Hello guys, what's going on? My name is Sam, or Chaotic, and welcome back to another GTA 5 video here on my channel. Now in today's video, I'm going to be sharing 10 things with you guys that you may not know and need to know about the latest update in GTA Online, the San Andreas Super Sports Series update, which of course was only released yesterday on the Xbox One, the PlayStation 4, and the PC. Of course, it was released completely by surprise with no announcement or trailer from Rockstar, hence why it's being called a surprise update. Now, the update itself wasn't exactly a very big one, as I'm sure you guys know, only releasing 5 new vehicles into the game, alongside some new stunt races as well, making it the smallest update we've received in the last year since the March update from last year, the Cunning Stunt Special Vehicle Circuits update. But despite how small this update may seem, there are still loads of changes and additions made, with a lot more to come as well. And I can assure you guys there are plenty of things you may not know about this update as well. So let's go ahead then and jump straight into things. And to start things off, Rockstar have adjusted the insurance cost for all weaponized vehicles in GTA Online. So as I'm sure you guys know, with the last few updates of course implementing a series of new weaponized vehicles, if you were to destroy that vehicle, whether it's accidentally or intentionally, or someone else destroys it and somehow they get around not paying that insurance cost, it will cost you $20,000 per weaponized vehicle to insure and claim from Moores Mutual. But with this update, Rockstar have adjusted that and supposedly made it more fair, so it's just $10,000 at the absolute limit instead of $20,000 per vehicle. And obviously it's worth noting there are some weaponized vehicles which will be less than that based upon their value. But I feel like this change will be seen in two ways. Of course, it's great to those of us who of course have to pay that insurance cost. So if for some reason we accidentally destroy our vehicle or destroy it to get rid of it and try and call another one in, it obviously saves us quite a bit of money, but to those people who are just driving around in their vehicles and someone else comes to your location and blows it up, it means they haven't got to pay quite as much as a fine, so it doesn't turn them away from griefing you or unnecessarily blowing you up. Moving on though to the next new change with this update, this can be found in the interaction menu if you make your way to the hide options setting, then go to events and scroll down to the bottom and you'll find two new options, these being crate drops and armored trucks. Now, as I'm sure you guys know, these two features haven't been in the game since 2014, I believe, maybe early 2015. Both of these were removed from GTA Online a long time ago, but for some reason, Rockstar have added these two options to the interaction menu with this update, despite the fact that neither of these two even take place anymore in GTA Online. In fact, the entire script for the armored truck event was removed from the game a long time ago, so even if Rockstar want to implement this into the game, they'd have to release a brand new update implementing this script back into the game if they want to activate the armored truck events in GTA Online. But as I'm sure you guys can imagine, after seeing this, many players yesterday believed that these two events, the crate drops and the armored trucks, would be making a return to GTA Online at some point. And maybe they will. Personally, I would love to see both of these events return. There's no real reason why these can't be in GTA Online. But like I said, at least for the armored truck events, Rockstar would have to re-implement this script into the game if they even want this to take place in GTA Online. So unfortunately, activating or deactivating either of these two options does nothing whatsoever. But, like I said, hopefully at some point, maybe in the next update, both of these will be re-implemented into GTA Online. I don't see why Rockstar would add these two options into the menu if there's no real purpose for them. Anyway, moving on to the third one. Now with this update, Rockstar made a load of changes to features and content from the Doomsday Heist update, and I will be mentioning one or two things in this video, but there are loads and loads of different changes that Rockstar made to stuff relating to the Doomsday Heist update, which can be found and read in the patch notes. But one of those changes was made to the Chernabog, which of course is this vehicle right here. But when Rockstar first released this vehicle, despite it featuring a tow hook on the back, as you can see in the gameplay, it was completely useless. You couldn't attach any trailers to it, you certainly couldn't attach the AA trailer to the back, which would have been pretty useful. And I remember when this vehicle first came out, I did try it and it didn't work, but with the release of this update, Rockstar have changed that and have made the tow hook on the back functional. So if you wanted to, you could now attach the AA trailer to the back. But you can't attach your own. What you'd have to do is have a friend in the session who's got an AA trailer, call theirs in, of course attach it from the saddler, and then put it on the back of this. So although it would be pretty useful if you could call in the AA trailer separately and then put it on the back of this, unfortunately if you want to do that, you'll have to have a friend or someone else in the session who's got one, but nevertheless you can now do it with the release of this update. And speaking of changes made to the Doomsday Heist update and content from it, Rockstar also made changes to the Avenger as well. So when you go ahead and customize this vehicle inside your underground facility in the weapon workshop, you can now fit countermeasures to this, and not just the smokes like you could before, you can now fit flares or the chaff option if you want to, something which wasn't possible before the release of this latest update. Moving on to something else you guys may not know, this of course involving the Declasse Hot Ring Sabre, the new NASCAR, the first and only NASCAR that we have in GTA Online. This doesn't have many customization options, but you have the option to customize the livery that you can fit to this, and as you can see in the gameplay, there are 31 liveries available for this vehicle, which if I'm not mistaken makes this the most livery available option vehicle that we have in GTA Online, and not just that, 10 of the liveries are also locked and can only be unlocked when you play a set amount of hot ring races. Of course, they are the new stunt races that we have in GTA Online. So if you want to get any of those, you have to play a set amount of hot ring races. And by the way, you haven't got to win those races, you just have to play a set amount, with 20 being the highest. So it's not too difficult. And by the way, if you guys are NASCAR fans, you'll probably spot a few references and Easter eggs in some of these liveries as well, which is pretty cool. Now as for this next thing, I did discuss this briefly in my video early today regarding which vehicles you should buy and not buy from the latest update, but in case you guys didn't watch that, it's probably worth talking about again in this one in more detail. You guys may have noticed if you bought any of the new vehicles from this update, or at least seen some gameplay of them, they seem very disappointing in the terms of their performance and speed. And that's because Rockstar with this update added a brand new game mechanic which basically implements engine resistance into the game. But for some reason, this mechanic only affects the new vehicles from this update, which is why these new vehicles seem extremely disappointing. And this engine mechanic affects all 16 of the vehicles from this update, obviously the 5 that have been released and the 11 unreleased ones. But it doesn't affect any of the vehicles already in the game, which is why these vehicles seem so much slower and worse than everything else. But not just that, Rockstar have also added a number of flags and advanced flagging systems into the game as well, which for some reason have only been added to affect the new vehicles from this update. So again, all these things combined just make these seem so much slower than everything else. Now I'm not really too sure why Rockstar even added this into the game at all, and why these new mechanics only affect the new vehicles and their performance and not all the vehicles in the game. Hopefully Rockstar will remove this completely very soon, but to do so they have to release a brand new update to remove this entirely, which fingers crossed they will do very soon, but if they don't, we may have to wait until the next update, which may not be until June. Anyway, moving on to the next one, and like you may have just heard me say, this update has a total of 16 new vehicles in it. Only 5 of them have been released yesterday, with 11 held back, and will be released as drip-fed vehicles over the course of the next few weeks and months. And if you guys want some more information on that, including their prices, the full list of cars and names, and the other game modes and content which will also be released over the course of the next few weeks and months, then definitely go ahead and check out my video on this where I talked about it and covered everything. There will of course be a link in the description to that. But since making that video, some additional information has been found regarding the release order and the dates these vehicles will be released. Now usually with drip-fed vehicles, Rockstar release them one by one each week until they run out of content, and then of course they jump on to the next updates. But this time round it appears it's going to be very different, where Rockstar will be releasing these vehicles in groups, so more than one per week. So let's go ahead then and take a look at the release order and the dates some of these will be released. So starting from next week on Tuesday, March 27th, Rockstar will be releasing 2 vehicles, the Pegassi Tesseract and the Vapid Ellie. Then the following week on April 3rd, Rockstar will be releasing the Vapid Cara alongside the new game mode Targeted Assault, which they of course announced on the newswire yesterday. Then following that, the next group of vehicles to release together are the Weenie Issy Classic, the Vapid Flash GT, and the Sea Sparrow Chopper. Now unfortunately, we haven't got a release date for these vehicles, but I would imagine it will be at some point in April, most likely towards the middle, if not the end of the month. But either way, like I said, these vehicles will be releasing together as a group. Then the next group will be the Overflood Tyrant and the Vapid Dominator GTX, followed by the final group of 3, which include the Rune Chibarek, the Dinka Jester Classic, and the Lampari Michele GT. And again, unfortunately, right now, I don't have an exact release date for these 2 groups, but as for that final one, it will most likely be towards the end of May. Now, I'm sure many of you guys may be questioning why Rockstar are doing this, and instead of releasing these vehicles one by one each week, why are Rockstar now changing things up and releasing these in groups? Well, I believe there are numerous reasons for this. For starters, they are trying things out to see how this does, and whether Rockstar sell more cars and more shark cars by selling these in groups rather than one by one, but also in response to the negativity towards Rockstar releasing these vehicles one by one as drip-fed vehicles. And in fairness, I do feel like this is a much better strategy and will be favoured by the community over their previous method of just releasing vehicles one by one. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, moving on to the next thing. Now, yesterday Rockstar announced on the Newswire they will be adding a variety of new props to the creator in May. But on top of that, right now, Rockstar have also increased the creator prop limit from 150 props plus the 20 dynamics that you can have to 200 props plus 20 dynamics. So when creating races and various missions, you can now create much bigger and more advanced courses. And moving on to the 10th and final thing I want to share with you guys in this video, the total price of all the content from this update, including all the unreleased content and vehicles as well. Now, before I get into the exact figure, I want you guys to guess how much money you think it would cost to buy everything, all 5 released vehicles and the 11 unreleased vehicles as well, if you were to go ahead and buy everything. Pause the video if you need to. I want you guys to comment your guesses in the comment section right now and see how close you are to the exact figure. So the amount you would need if you wanted to buy all 16 vehicles from this update would cost $20,805,000. So despite this update being much smaller than the past few updates we've had, it's still going to cost you a lot of money if you wanted to buy everything. And that doesn't include the cost to upgrade the vehicles as well, which will probably add an extra $1 or $2 million on top of that price. But either way, that's certainly a lot more than I expected this update would cost overall. Anyway, with that being said, guys, that's pretty much it then for this video. Those are 10 things you guys may not know and need to know about this update in GTA Online. If you guys could take a few seconds out of your day to drop a like on this video, it would of course be greatly appreciated and it helps me out a lot. If you guys know of anything else which I haven't mentioned in this video and you feel like other players may not know or realise from this update, of course go ahead and leave a comment. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, make sure you do, because I upload all the latest and the greatest Grand Theft Auto 5 content. So as always guys, thank you very much for watching and I will see you guys next time.